Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Suranjali Seal, and like I always say, if you are somebody that loves literature and is all about literature, then this is the channel for you. In our video today, we're going to continue our discussion of Macbeth. We have been discussing Macbeth in detail with the quotes and the summary and the overall plotline and character analysis. So we're going to continue that here too. We've already completed Act 1 and Act 2. In our video today, we're going to start and complete Act 3 in detail. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. So let us have a look at Act 3, Scene 1. So Macbeth enters attire as king. So we've established in Act 2 that Macbeth is king now. And we know that the deceased King Duncan's two sons have fled, right? So now Macbeth has been crowned king. So he enters attired as king. He is followed by Lady Macbeth, now his queen, and the court. So Lady Macbeth has been waiting for this day. All through scenes 1 and 2, we have seen that she's the one who actually convinces Macbeth to murder Duncan, and now she is queen. This is all that she wanted all along. So, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth ask Banquo to attend the feast they will host that night. So, he's become king and he's asking people, or rather inviting people to a feast, like a banquet, or we invite each other for dinner, right? So just imagine it on a royal scale. So it's a feast. So he has called people to attend this feast, and they're asking, likewise, he's asking Banquo to attend the feast as well. Now Banquo accepts the invitation and says that he plans to go for a ride on his horse for the afternoon. So Macbeth mentions that they should discuss the problem of Malcolm and Donalbain. Now Malcolm and Donalbain, I think you remember that they are the sons of King Duncan. So they have fled, right? So now Banquo is invited. Macbeth invites Banquo that come for the feast. So Banquo says, yes, I will attend your feast. But the only thing is, I am going to go out for a ride. Horse riding. I'll go out for a ride in the evening, in the afternoon. But I will attend your feast. This is what Banquo says. So Macbeth says that please come and attend the feast, and we also have to talk about the two sons. We have to talk about Malcolm and Donalbain because they have fled to England, and we still don't know who has killed Duncan. So if you have time, please do come. We'll talk about it. Okay, so this is what he's saying. So the brothers have fled from Scotland and may be plotting against his crown. So you understand he does not care about Duncan's death. We know that because he himself has murdered Duncan, so he does not care about the justice aspect of it. But he cares more about protecting his crown. So he is telling Banquo that as king, I think I would like to talk about these two sons, because inwardly he's afraid, right, that these two sons will come and, attack him. And if the truth is found out, then he's gone because he's actually committed murder. So all of these things are going on in his mind. So he's still planning and plotting. Even after killing Duncan, till now, he's not at rest. He's planning and plotting. Banquo departs and Macbeth dismisses his court. So he dismisses the court. He is left alone in the hall with a single servant to whom he speaks about some men who have come to see him. Macbeth asks if the men are still waiting and orders that they be fetched. Once the servant has gone, Macbeth begins his soliloquy. So, he is telling the servant, okay, there's a servant, after he dismisses the court, he says, there are some men who have come to meet me. Send them in. Tell them to come in. Now, in the meantime, when the servant goes to call those people inside, he's alone in the hall now, okay, because he's dismissed everyone, he's alone, and he begins his soliloquy. And whatever he says in his soliloquy, we come to know of his character, we come to know about his thought process, and they are in contrast to Act 1 and Act 2. In Act 1 and Act 2, we saw Macbeth wavering, right? He was, should I do it? Should I not do it? And then we see Lady Macbeth coming and, persuading him that no, you should go and murder Duncan. You should take the crown for yourself. So we have Lady Macbeth, brainwashing him that way, persuading him that way. But now, when we see in Act 3, we'll see a complete change of character. We'll see the influence also. So we'll see that, we'll discuss it. The servant re-enters with Macbeth's two visitors. And who are these visitors? It's very interesting. Macbeth reminds the two men who are murderers he has hired. So you see, it does not end with the death of Duncan. In Act 1, I told you this theme of carnage, murder, war, and, bloodshed. All of this is constant in Macbeth. So here too, you see, it does not stop there. Now he's going after Banquo because he knows that his crown is not safe with him. Like, I'll tell you, who knows about the prophecy? There are three people, or three people, just like take it generally, three people know about the prophecy. Who are these people? First, Macbeth knows about the witch's prophecy. Second, Banquo knows about the witch's prophecy. And third, the audience know about the witch's prophecies, right? So what happens is, the audience knows that Banquo's children are going to be sitting on the throne someday, and it's only a matter of time that Macbeth is overthrown. Now, Macbeth also, naturally, he must be having that thing in his mind, right? That, okay, I am not safe, my crown is not safe, my position is not safe. So now he has hired murderers to go after Banquo. So you see, he reminds them of a conversation he had with them the day before, in which he chronicled the wrongs Banquo had done them in the past. So he hires those men who Banquo had punished, you know, because then their revenge motive will be more. So he hires those men who Banquo had punished, and he reiterates them. If you read the passage, you'll know he reiterates the whole thing. Now, he asks if they are angry and manly enough to take revenge on Banquo. They reply that they are, and Macbeth accepts their promise that they will murder his former friend. Macbeth reminds the murderers that Fleance must be killed along with his father, and tells them to wait within the castle for his command. So you see, now he's not just going after Banquo, so he's going after Banquo's son, because it is not Banquo who is the direct threat. The direct threat is the son, because the witches prophesied that his sons will be sitting on the throne. Banquo shall not be king himself, but he shall be the father of kings. That was the prophecy, right? So now, you know, he's completely taken up by this idea and this lust for power. Macbeth is, okay? So now he's planning and plotting the murder. So this is scene 1. This is Act 3, Scene 1, where he is saying that I will give you the hint, I will give you the go-to, and you will have to go and murder both Banquo, and you have to murder Fleance also. So this is Act 1, Scene 1. We'll just look at 3 important quotes, and we're just going to analyze that and move on further, okay? So what does Banquo say? Right in the opening, when Scene 1 opens, this is what Banquo says. Thou hast it now. You have it now. What does he have? Who have? Macbeth. What does Macbeth have now? You are king, Cawdor, Glamis, all. You are the king now. You are also the Thane of Glamis. Remember the first, you are all hail Macbeth, the Thane of Glamis, the witches said. Second was, all hail Macbeth, the Thane of Cawdor. And all hail Macbeth, I think, who shall be king, or something like that. That was the third one. So you see, Glamis and Cawdor, you have it. Now you're king, you have all. Okay, that's what Banquo is saying. As the weird women promised, that is the weird sisters, the 3 witches, they had promised. And I fear thou played most foully for it. So he's saying that I fear that you must have applied or must have adopted unfair means to get to this position. So he is doubting Banquo. He is, you know, suspenseful, or he is critical of Banquo. He is thinking that Banquo is critical of Macbeth. He is thinking that Macbeth must have adopted some unfair means to get this far. And he is right? So his instinct is telling him that. So he said, you must have played most foully for it. You know, unfairly, you must have played very unfairly for it. It should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. That, you know, the crown will pass out of your hands. The crown will not be, it's not a permanent thing. It does not end there. It does not stand in thy posterity. The crown does not belong to you. It does not end with you. It's going to pass on to my children, or rather that I should be the root and father of many kings. So, you know, in Act 2, I think, if I haven't mistaken, in Act 2, I told you that Banquo is a potential ally and also a potential enemy or a competitor to Macbeth. Why? Because only these 2 people know about the prophecies. Only these 2 people know about the prophecies. So Banquo can be an ally. That is, okay, let's work together and we'll take over the kingdom. Or an enemy, because Banquo is honest with King Duncan. He was loyal to King Duncan. He still is. After King Duncan's death also, Banquo is honest. He's an honest human being. So now he's thinking about it. And the audience keep thinking, what decision will Banquo take? Because we also, who are the 3 people again who know about the prophecy? Macbeth, Banquo, and us, right? So what happens, he says, if there come truth from them, that is, if there's any truth in these prophecies, as upon thee, like I can see, it is true for you, Macbeth, their speeches shine. That is, they must be telling the truth. Why? By the varieties on these made good, may they not be my oracles as well. he says that it has come true for you, so it might be that it might be true for me as well, and set me up in hope. Then he was like, should I, like, believing this would set me up in hope, because it has happened to you, it might happen to me too. And then he was saying, but hush, no more. So, there's this, we keep, as audiences, we keep wondering what decision will Banquo take. Because you see, Banquo is also thinking about the prophecies. He's saying, if it has come true for you, it should be true for me as well. But okay, no, I'll not think about it. So, he might be having thoughts in his mind also, but we're not clearly understanding what is he saying. It's not clearly told. So the audience know, they're sitting, they're clutching on their seat, and they're waiting for the decision that Banquo is going to take. Now Macbeth, we know that he has this soliloquy, right, where he talks to himself, and he's giving his inner thoughts and feelings. He's talking about it alone, when he's left alone. So this is an extract from that, so I'll just read it. Macbeth, to be thus nothing. He is the king. Okay, he has everything now. His wife is queen, he is king. But he's saying, to be thus is nothing. This is nothing. It's useless to be like this. Why? Because, but to be safely thus. Okay, to be thus is nothing but to be safely thus. It is no use being king and not being safe. He is feeling threatened because Banquo is alive, Fleance is alive, the two sons of Duncan have fled. So he is scared now. So he's saying it's no use with so much power that I am not even safe. Okay. Then he's saying our fears in Banquo stick deep. He says that our fears, that is, of course, his and Lady Macbeth's fears in Banquo are very, very deep. He might just catch me, or he might just overthrow me. What do I do about that? Because he's occupied with the witches' prophecies from day one, right? So, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. And he says that I fear him. He has a royalty of nature. He's brave. He is strong and brave, that I fear him. And because he is the one opposite to him, right? In as per the prophecies, he is his opponent for now. So he is scared. Okay, he is unsafe, unsettled. He is disturbed right now because he does not think that he is safe. So that's natural. Okay, anybody who will not feel safe will obviously have this disturbance in the mind, right? So this is exactly very humane characteristics which we see in Macbeth, and he's saying it. 'Tis much he dares, and to that dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that does guide his valour. Remember, in Canterbury Tales, I told you, if you have just strength and no wisdom, it's useless. Like, I'll just go bash up people, I'll just go, hit people, but you don't have wisdom. What is wisdom? Knowing when to, you have a lot of strength, you have a lot of knowledge, okay? Wisdom without knowledge, without wisdom, you have a lot of knowledge, okay? You have information stored, but you don't know how to use it, how to talk, when to talk, okay? If you don't know, that is your wisdom. If you don't know how to do it, having that knowledge is useless. So, knowledge without wisdom is useless. Power without knowledge is useless. Power without knowledge and wisdom is also useless. So over here, Macbeth is talking about this very characteristic in Banquo, that Banquo has wisdom, and that wisdom guides his valor. That he has the strength, but he also has the wisdom. So Banquo is in the first two acts we saw he's loyal, he's trustworthy, he serves the king, he's honest. Here we are seeing his bodily. We've already even talked about Banquo's bodily valor in Act 1 when we are introduced to him. Now we see that even Macbeth recognizes it, that Banquo has a lot of valor, but he has wisdom to accompany it. So that makes him a whole person, right? That gives him a very strong and positive personality. So this is Banquo for us. To act in safety, there's none but he whose being I do fear. It is no one but Banquo that I fear. This is what Macbeth is saying. And under him, my genius is rebuked. And in front of him, as his opponent, my genius, that is, I just can't think anymore. Like, my genius is rebuked. Like, I feel scared, he's very, very nervous right now, and he's losing his confidence because he has Banquo opposite to him. He has to deal with Banquo now. Duncan, he was not really concerned about. He actually used Duncan's trust, against him. But now he's saying that, against Banquo, he seems that he can't think anymore. like he's always scared all the time. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown. This is very, very important. This is what Macbeth says. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown. What is this fruitless crown? That is, the witches said that the crown is going to, he'll be the king, but it's going to pass on to someone else, right? And we know that it's Banquo's sons. So he's saying it's a fruitless crown. It's no use having this much power because it's not permanent. It's fruitless. I cannot enjoy this for long. And put a barren scepter in my grip. That is, a scepter, if you know, it's like a long stick, okay? You can Google it. A scepter, they're very, very pretty scepters also. So usually if you see fantasy movies and all, witches, wizards, they do have a scepter. So it's like a long stick, okay? Sometimes bejeweled also. So the scepter, he says the king's scepter is barren. Barren as in no heir, because his heirs are not going to take the crown, right? The witches prophesied that Banquo's sons or Banquo's children are going to be heirs, or they're going to take over the throne basically. So he's saying that they put a barren scepter in my hand that I cannot give to my children. This scepter will be snatched away and given to somebody else's children. So he's saying thence to be wretched with an unlineal hand. Unlineal, that means, we have matrilineal, patrilineal. Your lineage, is traced through the bloodline. So he's saying that it's going to be given. The scepter is going to be snatched away from me and given to an unlineal hand. That is someone from outside my bloodline. So he cannot deal with that also. So no son of mine succeeding. If it be so, for Banquo's issue I have filled my mind. For them the gracious Duncan I have murdered. So he's saying, if this is the case, then I have not done all this trouble that I went through. I have not done it for me. I have done it for Banquo. Like he's saying, and it's true to some extent, he let his greed work it out, right? And he's saying that it's not for, my sake that I worked. It is for Banquo's sake that I worked. I was the one who planned and plotted, okay? But Banquo is going to reap the benefits, okay? I am the one who murdered King Duncan. For whom? Not for myself or my crown. I have done it for Banquo's children. And then he's saying, for them the gracious Duncan I have murdered. Put rancors in the vessel of my peace only for them. He says that the peace, I've disturbed my peace, right? For them, not for myself. And mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man, to make them kings. So he says that I have done all this planning, plotting and all the trouble that I went through. It seems as if it's not even for me. It's for somebody else. And then he says the seed of Banquo kings. He says, how can Banquo's sons become king? So he is having trouble just dealing with the prophecies, okay? And that's why he makes one mistake after the other. And that's why we have the tragedy called Macbeth. Now, there's one other quote by Macbeth, and we're going to look at that also. It's an important one. So, he is mine, that is, he's my enemy too. When you read the text, right, you'll see that he's talking to the murderers and he's saying that he's my enemy too. Macbeth is my enemy too. And in such bloody distance that every minute of his being thrusts against my nearest of life. Okay, he's saying that, Banquo is my enemy too. And he says he is in such bloody distance that he's so in close proximity to me. Like, you don't like somebody, but you have to deal with that person the whole day. It's very nerve-wracking and it's frankly exhausting also, right? So he's saying that he being this person. See, Shakespeare makes up these plots, okay, these plots and everything that he's weaving. Do you realize how humane his thought process is? He is dealing with basic human emotions, but because of his plot and because of the magic that he weaves through his storytelling and his arrangements and his basically his characters and the lines, right, the language that Shakespeare uses. Do you see how rich he has made these everyday things that come to our head, right? I'm not talking about the murder aspect of it because this is a tragedy, so this is a lot of killing and all of these themes are dealt with. I'm talking about the language and I'm talking about the emotions like jealousy, like anger, like love, like friendship, like honesty, loyalty. These are everyday human emotions and Shakespeare deals with them so beautifully and so in a manner or mode of genius. He actually puts them in the correct place, seems to be put in the correct place in the play, right? So we can all relate to, this is what I said, Shakespeare is universal because he deals with such universal qualities which are common to mankind. So you see, he's saying that Banquo is the whole day, he's so in close proximity that every time I see him, every time I'm near him, it's like a stab in the chest, okay? He just can't deal with it. So he's saying, and bid my will avouch it, yet I must not. For certain friends that are both his and mine, whose loves I may not drop. So he said that I would have killed Banquo as well, but I cannot because we have mutual friends. You know, the people of the court, they will start doubting me. Like, he already killed Duncan. Now, if again Banquo passes away, then those mutual friends in the court will doubt him, right? So he says that because of those friends that we have in the court, I did not want to do it. So he hired murderers to go and kill Banquo and his son Friance. So, and thence it is that I to your assistance do make love. That is why I'm asking for your assistance, masking the business from the common eye for sundry weighty reasons. So you say, I'm masking it, I'm not letting anybody know about my intentions, real intentions, because, you know, it might be a threat to me and my power only. So this is Act 3, Scene 1. You've understood this is the background to Act 3, Scene 1, right? So the rest of the acts are going to go by very swiftly. We're going to read important quotes, and always, like, we're going to discuss the summary as well. So let's move on to the next slide. The setting is the same again. It is in another room in the castle. So Macbeth enters and tells his wife that he too is discontented. Now see, scene 2 opens with Lady Macbeth, okay? And you know, she is inquiring from a servant that is Banquo going to come or not. The servant says that the Banquo has to go to ride out. Banquo has gone to ride out, but he'll join the dinner at night. Okay, so we know that, we already know that from the scene 1, Act 3, Scene 1, that Banquo is going to join later. He has gone out riding in the afternoon. So after that, the servant leaves and Lady Macbeth is left alone. Alone, Lady Macbeth, no, she talks to herself. Now, Act 3 is a stark contrast to Act 1 and 2 as far as Macbeth and Lady Macbeth is concerned, okay? So this is what she says after the servant leaves. Is the first few lines only. After the first few lines of Act Act 3, Scene 2, you'll have Lady Macbeth's this dialogue. She says, nothing's had all spent, where our desire is got without content. 'Tis safer to be that which we destroy than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. So beautiful lines, okay? Beautiful way he has used language and the words. I mean, it's Shakespeare. So the translation I've included. We have attained our goal but lost peace of mind, because of course, you know, they're guilty, so they're not going to be at peace anyway. So if by killing Duncan we were to live in such state of uncertain joy, it would have been better to be dead. You know, you see Act 1 and Act 2, Lady Macbeth was the real steel behind Macbeth. I told you, she is the one who pushed him to go and murder Duncan. She says, a little water will wash of this sin. She says that a little water will wash us of this sin. That is, you know, just wash your hands and we'll be free. But the guilt conscience that is playing in both of their minds is, and the fear that is there along with it, it is actually very troublesome. They don't have peace. And this is one of the important lines that maybe Lady Macbeth says. And you see the switch in Act 1 and in Act 1 and 2, she was so strong. And now in Act 3, you see the switch. She says that to live, if by killing Duncan, we were to live in such state of uncertainty, uncertain joy, it would have been better to be dead. She says that, you know, we wanted to be king and queen expecting that we are going to be better off, but this is sheer agony. Cannot live like this in fear every day, and it would have been better to have been dead. This is what she says, rather than living in such uncertainty, fear and uncertain joy. Now Macbeth, okay, he enters and then he has the same feelings. He talks to Lady Macbeth. He enters the room and he says that yes, you know, that his mind is full of scorpions. You know, scorpions have that poisonous sting, so his conscience is stinging him now, that he can't deal with it anymore. So he feels that the business that they began by killing Duncan is not yet complete, because there are still threats to the throne that must be eliminated. So it's like a domino effect. You know, you just push one domino and, you know, it just falls one after the other. It's a domino effect because he just can't stop now. It all began by the witch's prophecy. He decided to go with it, roll with it. He kills Duncan and he thinks that it's going to be a full stop after that, but no. After that, it just sets a series of, incidents, series of choices that he makes that will actually lead to his downfall. So, you know, Macbeth his conscience is pricking him now, and now he says that there are still more murders to do, there's still more people to eliminate, because I don't feel safe. It's like madness. I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe all the time. This is what he's saying, and this is because of his conscience, because of his guilt, and he still doesn't realize it. He still doesn't realize that it's because of guilt. He thinks that he still wants more power, lust for power. Okay, so he's saying that Macbeth tells his wife that he has planned a deed of dreadful note. These are quotes from the text only. So for Banquo and Fleance, and urges her to be jovial and kind to Banquo during the evening's feast in order to lure their next victim into a false sense of security. So I have entered, the literal text in the translation, so we'll just read it through. Macbeth: we have scotched the snake but not killed it. He said that we wounded the snake, which was Duncan, but we've not killed all the threads. She'll doze and be herself, whilst our poor Malice remains in danger of her former tooth. It's like the wound will soon heal up, and the snake will bite us. So he's scared. He's saying that the wound, that, eliminating Duncan was just the first step. But, all threats have not been eliminated yet. But let the frame of things disjoint, both the worlds suffer. Ever we will eat our meal in fear and sleep in the affliction of these terrible dreams that shake us nightly. He's having nightmares now. Terrible dreams that shake him nightly. His conscience is not at peace. So, the repercussions of the deed that he committed, he's feeling it every day of his life now. So he's saying, we remain in constant fear of its touch, but we would rather let the earth and heaven fall to pieces and let both worlds be smashed than live in constant fear. So he's saying that, the repercussions of it we're feeling every day. So it's better we just go eliminate all the threats so that we don't have to live in fear anymore. So he's saying that better be with the dead whom we to gain our peace have sent to peace. So he's saying that better to be with the dead. That is better to be with Duncan. It's better to be dead rather than, better to be with Duncan, whom we to gain our peace, that is whom we, in order to be, king and queen, in order to be peaceful, to be prosperous, in order to be peaceful with our fate, in order to be peaceful, have sent to peace, have sent to dead. Or, they say rest in peace, or we say when somebody passes away, it's a final resting place. That, after one is dead, there's no feeling, worldly feeling kind of like takes a back seat. So no tensions of life anymore after death. So he's saying we wanted peace by actually putting Duncan to death. But, he's resting in peace. We are the ones having nightmares now. So he's saying it's better to be with the dead rather than live like this. Then he says, than on the torture of the mind to lie in restless ecstasy. It's better to be with the dead rather than lie in restless ecstasy. That we have everything we need now. We're king and queen, but we are restless. Our mind is not at peace. So he's saying Duncan is in his grave. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. He says that Duncan is on his grave, and after the fever and fret of life on this earth, treason can no more touch him. So he's afraid now. Okay, he's saying that treason has done his worst. He's saying Duncan is dead. Now treason cannot affect him. He's afraid of treason. You know what treason is, right? Because he planned and plotted against the king. So that's punishable offense. So he committed treason. He was disloyal to the king. He backstabbed the king. So now Macbeth is saying that, if we are found out, if we are caught, then we'll be charged with treason and we have to suffer. We're going to get punishment. But Duncan, after somebody is dead, there's no point of any punishment or anything anymore. That's the final resting place. So he's saying that it's no use living like this. Okay. Then he's saying treason has done his worst, nor steel, nor poison, malice, domestic, foreign levy, nothing can touch him further. He's saying now that Duncan is dead, or since he passed away, or he was murdered, now he's dead, he's in his grave. He says he need not fear anymore the assassin's dagger or his poison. He says he does not have to be fearful of the assassin's dagger or the murderer's dagger or the poison, because now it's beyond reach of the civil strife and foreign wars. He says that now that he's dead, right, he is beyond reach of foreign strife and civil wars. That, war and all won't affect him anymore. This worldly thing, right, like our worldly life will not affect him anymore because now he's at peace. It's the final resting place. And it's quite bizarre. You see, like I told again, Shakespeare deals with very humane things. So after somebody passes away, we say final resting place and all. We have the memories of the person with us. But you see, worldly things cease to exist. There's this afterlife which we don't even know clearly what is it about. So the very bizarre and very the mysteries of life, also the truths of life, truthful mysteries of life also, Shakespeare actually talks about it so beautifully, and he has placed it in such a way, in such parts of the play which make us think as audiences, and that's why we relate to his plays also even more. So these are very humane things. Okay, now Lady Macbeth, come on, gentle my lord, sleek, chic over your rugged looks, that just be cheerful, forget, no need to take tension so much, be bright and jovial among your guests tonight. So Macbeth says, so shall I love? He says that yes, okay, fine, I'll try to be happy. And then he's saying, I pray you be you. You also be happy. You try to look happy. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. Especially you be jovial and treat Banquo with special care. You treat him properly. Present him eminence both with eye and tongue. You praise him. You treat him specially with eyes and tongue. That is, you treat him well and you also speak of him highly. And then he's saying, must have our honors in these flattering streams and make our faces wizards of our heart, distinguishing what they are. So she's saying we are far from being safe so long as we have to maintain a high position. So he's paranoid. Okay, he's saying that we cannot be safe as long as we have to maintain a high position. And then he's saying by flattering others, we have to wear a mask to disguise our real feelings. So I said a Machiavellian character, do whatever it takes to stay on top. And do you see the contrast now between Lady Macbeth and Macbeth? Act 1 and Act 2, she was the one giving him all the ideas. She was the one who plotted Duncan's murder. She is the one who has been telling him that you should do this, you should not do this, you should do this. So you understand, she's the one who took away Macbeth's dilemma, and then she's the one who pushed him to commit the murder. Now in Act 2, you see like she's taken a softer tone, like she's just supporting the husband, but Macbeth is completely changed now. He does not have even 1 ounce of regret. He has regret, 1 ounce of wavering attitude, 1 ounce of doubt that whether he should do it or not. He is adamant that he has to get Banquo and Fleance killed. So this is Act 3, Scene 2. We're going to move on to Scene 3. Scene 3 is very short, so I'm going to read through it and I think you'll understand it, okay? So it is dusk and the 2 murderers now joined by a third. There are 3 murderers, that is. 2 had spoken to Banquo, now there are a third. 3 of them linger in the wooded park outside the palace. So the setting is a park with a road leading up to a palace. So the palace is there. There's a park and there's a road that leads up to the palace, and there's trees and shrubs and all. So the 3 murderers are waiting there. So Banquo and Fleance approach on their horses and dismount. Remember they were coming for dinner. They went out horse riding. Now they're coming for dinner. So, Banquo and Fleance, they dismount from their horse. They reach the place. They light a torch and the murderers set upon them. So they light a torch, and I'll tell you, torch does not mean our modern day torches, okay? It's basically, you can say a wooden stick, or you can have like a stick and on it you can have cloth or anything that is flammable, right? And you can use it as a torch, a wooden torch. In the Olympics, they have a torch, right? Do you call that also a torch? The Olympics, they have the torch, the lighting of the torch. So same way, you can just think in olden times. This is just an example I'm giving. In the olden times, you had like maybe a wooden stick or something, and the top of it was flammable. You can put, say, dried leaves, or you can put a cloth also, and then you can light it on fire, and you can use it as a torch. So this is way even before lanterns and all that came, okay? So we're talking about this here. Now, the murderers kill Banquo, who dies urging his son to flee and to avenge his death. This is kind of sad, but it is part of the characteristics of a tragedy. It is the fall of a great man. If you have watched my Aristotle video, if you have seen the characteristics of tragedy, it is the fall of a great man. So Macbeth and Banquo, both in Act 1, we've seen that they're great. Their valor, their bodily valor, the way they fought for the king, we actually have a positive attitude towards them in Act 1. So here we see that Banquo dies, and we do feel for him. It's the fall of a great man, because along with valor, he also had loyalty, he also had wisdom, and he also had honesty in his character. So Banquo is killed, okay? The murderers kill him, but his son escapes. Fleance is able to escape. Now you see the domino effect, the choices I'm telling you. How would Banquo's children become king? If Banquo would be alive, then after Macbeth, Banquo would be king, and then after Banquo, then Fleance would be king. But the witches clearly said, to Banquo, "You shall not be king, but you shall be the father of kings." So you see, Banquo had to die. You understand, because the prophecy was such that he was never to be king, and the prophecy actually materialized because of Macbeth's decisions. So now the three murderers try to kill both of them, but Fleance escapes, and tragically Banquo dies. He is killed. One of the murderers extinguishes the torch, and in the darkness, Fleance escapes. The murderers leave with Banquo's body to find Macbeth and tell him what has happened. By the start of Act 3, the play's main theme, the repercussions of acting on ambition without moral constraint. You see, the repercussions, the effect of acting without moral constraint. The moral, our conscience, it is all the values, principles and morality that we keep for ourselves. So we all have good and bad angels, like Dr. Faustus. We all have good and bad angels. That's our conscience speaking to us. So, the repercussions of focusing only on ambition, like no matter what, I'm going to get this, more greed, more lust for power, it does have a consequence in the end. And this is the whole theme of Macbeth. Now here you see, has been articulated and explored. The play now builds inexorably toward its end. So now we're actually, this is like a head start towards the end. We're just like speeding towards the end now, because like everything is happening at one go, you see. There's no pause, there's no lagging anymore. In Act 1, Act 2, there was lagging, right? The planning, plotting. After Duncan's murder, after Macbeth becomes king, we're just like now speeding towards the end. So now you see, unlike Hamlet, in which the plot seems open to multiple possibilities up to the final scene, Macbeth's action seems to develop inevitably. I told you, remember, that Banquo had to die. It was inevitable because of the prophecies, and that's the nature of prophecies. If you watch movies also, anytime there's this prophecy concerned, that's the nature of prophecies, the inevitability of it, that it will happen. But of course, it depends on human intervention, on divine intervention. It depends on our choices that we make as human beings. So all of those things are there, whether the prophecy will come true or not. But generally, the inevitability, right, that, okay, this prophecy is going to come true, that's the essence that we're following here, okay, throughout Macbeth. So of course, I'll tell you one thing, prophecies sometimes can come true, cannot come true also. It all depends on how we act on it. And when we see Macbeth, he's actually acting exactly how he's supposed to, as for the witches' prophecies to come true. Had he not murdered Duncan, had he ignored the prophecies like Banquo, none of this would have happened. But because he chose to consider the witches' prophecies, that's why all of these things are happening. So we know that there is nothing to stop Macbeth's murder spree except his own death, and it is for that death that the audience now waits. So it's interesting, right? We know that Macbeth will never feel safe. Now you see, he's thinking that Banquo might murder him, or Fleance might murder him, so he would kill Banquo and Fleance, suppose. Now, after killing Fleance and Banquo, he might be again afraid of the court's people, that somebody from court might find out that he had murdered all of them, then would want revenge. Then he would go after. So, that there's no stopping him now. He's completely paranoid and obsessed with the idea of power and with the idea of being safe, and also because he's guilty conscience, okay, because of the guilt that's in his mind that's making him act this way. So he's scared basically. So we all know as audiences that it's his death only that can stop him, and we're waiting for it. So only with Macbeth's demise, we realize, can any kind of moral order be restored to Scotland. So this is Act 3, Scene 3. We're going to go to Scene 4. Now, we come to Act 3, Scene 4. Now, I would like to suggest that you read Act 3, Scene 4 in detail. Read the whole scene. It won't take time. It'll take hardly 5 minutes to read the scene. But please read it, because it is one of the most important and also widely celebrated scenes, because it is the scene where the ghost of Banquo appears on stage. It is the scene where Macbeth completely is distraught. He does not know how to behave after he sees the ghost of Banquo, so it kind of derails him, he kind of loses his balance mentally when he sees the ghost of Banquo, and Lady Macbeth has to cover it up. So it is one of the famous scenes amongst all the plays of Shakespeare. So please do give it a read. Here again, the supernatural is dealt with. So let's just have an overview. I am going to explain it in as detailed, as crisply and as easily as possible. But please, if you can, do read the text in detail. Scene 4. The rest I've included, of course, important quotes, but scene 4, all of them. The whole thing is important, so I would appreciate it if you do read it. This is the detailed explanation. I'll just explain it to you. On stage stands a table heaped with a feast. So remember, it was a feast, right? They called everybody for dinner, so to say. So it was a banquet. So everybody has come to eat. Now what happens here? It is, the table is there. Now you imagine there are chairs all around, a long table with chairs, and there's the head of the table. Head of the table, that one chair at the head of the table is reserved for who? The king. So it's Macbeth's place. The whole table has a lot of food on it. Okay, it's a feast. Now Macbeth and Lady Macbeth enter as king and queen. So followed by their court. Now at the head of the table is a seat, right? It's the head of the table. It's reserved for whom? The king. So it's for Macbeth. Now Lady Macbeth and Macbeth enter as king and queen, followed by their court, whom they bid welcome. So they're the host, right? They're saying, yes, please come in. We're going to eat now. And as Macbeth walks among the company, the first murderer appears at the doorway. Macbeth speaks to him for a moment, learning that Banquo is dead and that Fleance has escaped. The news of Fleance's escape angers Macbeth. If only Fleance had died, he muses, his throne would have been secure. Instead, the worm that's fled hath nature that in time will venom breed. So what happens here is, see, he's saying he met the murderer, like he's entering the state, suppose, or he's entering the room, and just at the door he met the murderer. So, you know, he's pulled aside and I said, did you do the work? Did you get him killed? And the murderer is like, yes, we killed someone, but we did not get to kill both. One escaped. For a paranoid person like Macbeth, this is not a good news, okay? Okay, Banquo is dead, good, but his son fled right now. He's another threat for him. So what he's saying that, you know, if only Fleance had died, he muses, that is, Macbeth is thinking to himself, his throne would have been secure. If Fleance would be killed, his throne would be secure. Instead, he's saying, this is one quote, please do underline it. He is saying over here that instead the worm that's fled, the worm, an earthworm that is fled, okay, a worm, hath nature that in time will venom breed. An earthworm is harmless, right? We even catch it with our hands also. I mean, it's harmless. But, you know, he says that this is a worm that will venom breed. In time, it'll be like a snake almost. It will have venom in its veins. What is that venom? Hatred, revenge. So he's very concerned about Fleance now. Now he's saying, returning to his guest, Macbeth goes to sit at the head of the royal table, but finds Banquo's ghost sitting in the chair. So you see, a long feast, everybody sitting around the table, and in the head of the table, you have it reserved for the king and queen, right? But you have, in Macbeth's chair, you have Banquo's ghost sitting there. The ghost enters, okay? Now, horror struck Macbeth speaks to the ghost, which is invisible to the rest of the company. Lady Macbeth makes excuses for her husband, saying that he occasionally has such visions and that the guest should simply ignore his behavior. He completely gets scared now. He's completely scared, and you should read the text. I have the text with me, so I'll just read a little bit of it. So, you know, the ghost of Banquo enters, and, you know, Macbeth says, the table is full. And Lennox says that here's a seat reserved for you. Please come and sit. And Macbeth says, where? And then he says, here, my lord. He says, come sit here. So Lennox and the rest of the guests on stage don't know that Banquo is killed. Only Macbeth knows that Banquo is killed. Now, he is looking at Banquo and he's saying that Banquo is sitting on the chair. Okay, Banquo is sitting on the chair and Macbeth is looking at the chair and he's like, the chair is filled. You know, and he's thinking that maybe Banquo is alive. Maybe he was not murdered because Fleance escaped, right? So he's saying that maybe there's a mistake. Maybe Banquo is alive. But Lennox is saying the chair is empty. Sit down, the chair is empty. And he's saying, no, it's not empty. How can it be empty? And he can see the ghost. Now, this whole thing is an example of dramatic irony. Dramatic irony is when the audience knows more than the characters on the stage. And this is used for humor, it is used for tension, it is used for tragedy. In our case over here, it's used for tension and tragedy. So he's saying over here that you sit down on stage, okay? and the ghost of the character who's playing, the actor who's playing the ghost of Banquo will come and sit on the chair, but the rest of the actors will pretend like it's an empty chair, right? So that's the theme that you're going for. So imagine in Shakespeare's time, when you're watching this on stage, it will create that tension, right? Because Macbeth is going to lose it now. So the audience knows that Banquo is dead. Macbeth also knows the Banquo is dead. Banquo is dead. But the rest of the characters, they don't know that Banquo is dead yet. So, they are normal. They're saying, come sit here. And he's saying, no, the chair is full. And he loses it after that. And Lady Macbeth has to cover up for it, okay? And she says, oh, my husband behaves like this sometimes. Now, see, if you have a king who's losing his cool like that, who does not have rationality like that, what does this actually say about the king? What does this say about the king, that he might not be apt, or he might not be live up to the position? That people will question him, right, if he starts behaving like this. But he's saying that there's somebody sitting on the chair, and he cannot even say it's Banquo because he's murdered Banquo. So that's the whole thing. So please do read scene 4 if you can. It's phenomenal the way Shakespeare has written this. So you see, this is just, I think, 1, 2. It'll just take 5 minutes. I think 4 to 5 pages only, and oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's around 4 to 5 pages only, and you can read it. It's really interesting. Now see, then she speaks to Macbeth, questioning his behavior. She's telling her husband that what's wrong with you? Like, get it together. Don't behave like this in front of people. And the ghost disappears. And remember in Macbeth, twice, okay, in this scene, in scene 4, the ghost enters twice. Once he appears, then he disappears again, and then again second time he enters. So the ghost disappears and Macbeth recovers. He says, oh, okay, maybe I was hallucinating. Okay, fine, it's fine. He says this to his company. He tells his company, like, once the ghost enters, sits on his place, and he's like, the place is not empty. And Lady Macbeth is like, why are you behaving like that? You just, keep it cool. And then the ghost disappears, and he's like, okay, maybe I was hallucinating. Okay, fine. And then he says this to his lords, the people who are there in the banquet. This is what he says: I have a strange infirmity which is nothing to those that know me. He says, I have an issue actually. Sometimes I behave like this, and those who know me, they'll know this. So, they're putting a question on his character, on his sanity, right? And he's trying to cover it up now, desperately trying to cover it up. And then as he offers a toast to company, he thinks that, okay, the ghost is gone. He must be just, he must be just imagining things. That time he raises a toast, and he's about to, raise a toast, and he's just about to say something, that the ghost appears again, and Banquo's spectre reappears and shocks Macbeth into further reckless outbursts. Like, he almost confesses that he has killed them. Okay, like that level he goes to while talking, and continuing to make excuses for her husband. Lady Macbeth sends the alarmed guests out of the room, and the ghost vanishes again. So again, I told you that it is synonymous with this idea of guilt, of good and bad angel, of conscience. Everything is springing, this whole vision and everything, even a touch of supernatural, it speaks loud of the morality of the king, of the throne of Scotland. You have to you have somebody who has done something wrong, and you cannot let that get away with, right? You cannot let him get away with that. So this is his conscience playing. Now Macbeth mutters that blood will have blood. So again, underline, and he tells this to Lady Macbeth, that he has heard from a servant spy that Macduff intends to keep away from court, behavior that verges on treason. So he's saying that Macduff, remember I told you in Act 2 that Macduff is the foil to Macbeth. Macduff is the one who actually kills Macbeth in the end. So I told you that when Macbeth was having his coronation, Macduff refused to go to the coronation, right? So he's saying that, he's telling Lady Macbeth the same thing. Now he says that he will visit the witches again tomorrow in the hopes of learning more about the future and about who may be plotting against him. He resolves to do whatever is necessary to keep his throne, declaring, I am in blood stepped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as the tedious to go so far. He was saying that I've done so much so far, I can't stop here. Like, I'll have to go and do it till I actually secure my throne for myself. Now he's saying the banquet is simultaneously the high point of Macbeth's reign, the climax, okay, you can say. It is the of Macbeth's reign also, and the beginning of the downfall. Macbeth's bizarre behavior puzzles and disturbs his subjects, confirming the impression that he is mentally troubled. Despite the tentativeness and guilt she displays in the previous scene, Lady Macbeth here appears sure-footed and stronger than her husband, but even her attempts to explain away her husband's hallucination are ineffective when paired with the evidence of his behavior. So, she wavered in the previous scene, like I said, right, that Lady Macbeth takes a back seat and Macbeth is like, I have to get this done. And in Act 1 and Act 2, Lady Macbeth is strong. Here again, when it comes to defending her husband, she's very strong. She actually defends him in front of everyone, but his behavior, actually alarms everyone. She cannot do enough because Macbeth is slowly losing it, okay, completely losing it. So the contrast between this scene and the one in which Duncan's body was discovered is striking. Whereas Macbeth was once cold-blooded and sure-footed, he now allows his anxieties and visions to get the best of him. So this is Act 3, Scene 4. We have only Scene 5 and Scene 6 left. I'm again repeating, please do read Scene 4 in detail. So we're going to move on to the next slide now. So this is Scene 5, Act 3, Scene 5, and it's pretty much easy and short also. It's very short. So I'll just read it. Upon the stormy heath. Heath, again, I give you the explanation in Act 1. So upon the stormy heath, the witches meet with Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft. Hecate scolds them for meddling in the business of Macbeth without consulting her, but declares that she will take over as supervisor of this mischief. So she's angry with the three witches, okay? Why? Because they decided to actually, they are planning and plotting against Macbeth, and they decided to play this mischief without her permission. They did not take permission from the goddess of witchcraft, so she's pretty much angry. And also, see, okay, some people also pronounce her name as Hecate or Hecate, and in Greek it's Hecate. So I'm just going to pronounce it as Hecate. So remember I told you in Socrates, the E is stressed, Socrates, it's not Socrates, it's Socrates. In the same sense, this is Hecate. So you can pronounce it as Hecate also, or Hecate. In Shakespeare's plays, we commonly call it as Hecate also. That's also correct. So this Hecate, goddess Hecate, she is the goddess of witchcraft. She's the, sometimes also, we consider her the goddess of crossroads, of the underworld and magic. So she is the goddess of witchcraft, and she's angry with the three witches because they did not take her permission before meddling with Macbeth's life. Now she's saying that I'm going to take over from here. Like, I'm going to take over the business from here. She says that from now on, she says that when Macbeth comes the next day, because remember Macbeth said, I'll go meet the three witches and I'll see what they have to say. Right? He says, just in the previous scene, he says, I'll go and meet the three witches. So he says that when Macbeth comes, and they know he will, they must summon visions and spirits whose messages will fill him with a false sense of security and draw him on his confusion. Hecate vanishes and the witches go to prepare their charms. So, she tells the witches that shame on you, okay? Not shame on you. She's actually angry. She's saying that you shouldn't have done this without my permission. Now, I'm going to take over. Tomorrow when Macbeth comes, you give him a false sense of security. Macbeth's main issue right now is security, right? That he does not have security of position. He does not have security of life. So he is paranoid because of that. He's scared because of that. He's fearful. That's why he's behaving like this. So she's saying that you give him a false sense of security, give him visions and give him a false sense of security, and the confusion that he has, right? That will Fleance come back, or will Malcolm and Donalbain come back? This whole confusion, you play on his confusion. Don't give him anything like, the witches gave him the three prophecies. It was on point that you will be king. So now she's saying you play on the confusion. Do not, do not give him anything crisp. You give him visions of false security, and then they says that tomorrow when he'll come, this is what you're supposed to do. Draw him onto his confusion. Hecate vanishes and the witches go to prepare their charms. So they know what they have to do now. So this is the original text. I'll just read out the translation. Don't I have reason to be angry, you hags? How dare you trick Macbeth with riddles and prophecies without including me, the source of your powers, the creator of all evil things, and the greatest practitioner of our magic? And even worse, you've done all this for the unreliable, angry, and spiteful brat. Like all brats, he cares only about what he wants and not about you. But you can make this better. Get out of here and meet me at the pit of the... So this is what she's telling them. This is the instruction that she's giving. I'll spend the night working to make a terrible and deadly outcome for him. I have a lot to accomplish before noon. On the corner of the moon there hangs a droplet ready to fall. I'll catch it before it hits the ground. When I charm the droplet with magic spells, I will rise up fantastic spirits that will trick Macbeth with illusions, and he'll walk right into his own destruction. He'll think himself immune to fate, will mock death, and will think he has no need for wisdom, grace, or fear. As you all know, overconfidence is mortal man's worst enemy. So overconfidence is mortal man's worst enemy. Again, I told you, very universal themes that Shakespeare deals with. Here she is saying that, why did you do this mischief? I am the source of your power. I'll be party to this mischief. I'm going to supervise it. She says, I'm going to give Macbeth a false sense of security, and he'll let down his guard. He'll think it's secure. He's secure, right? He'll let down his guard. He'll think he's secure, and he'll walk right into my trap. So this is basically scene 5. You can read it. Now we're going to go on to the last scene, which is scene 6. Now that we're speeding towards the end, you'll see scene 5 and 6, and now that you know what is going to happen, things are speeding. So act scene 6 also, act 3 scene 6 is also pretty much easy. Okay, now see, that night somewhere in Scotland, Lennox walks with another lord and discussing what has happened to the kingdom. Banquo's murder has been officially blamed on Fleance, because Fleance fled. Now the children have fled. You have Duncan's children, Malcolm and Donalbain, who fled. Now Fleance fled because he saved his life. He was saving his own life, right? He was afraid, so he left. He fled. But now because he fled, everybody is thinking that he is the one who murdered Banquo. That is his own father. So discussing what has happened to the kingdom, Banquo's murder has been officially blamed on Fleance, who has fled. Nevertheless, both men suspect Macbeth, whom they call a tyrant, in the murders of Duncan and Banquo. So the blame has come on Fleance and the other two kids. But Lennox, okay, is he, remember when Macbeth said that I have mutual friends in the court who might suspect me, who might want to take revenge, who might want to still support the king. Okay, so the mutual friend is Lennox over here. We're talking about people like Lennox who were loyal to the king, people like Lennox who suspect that things are not plain and simple, something must be wrong. So Lennox over here, now he's thinking that maybe Macbeth is the one to blame, maybe Macbeth is the one who has done all this. He calls Macbeth the tyrant, and when he refers to the murders of Duncan and Banquo. The Lord tells Lennox that Macduff has gone to England, where he will join Malcolm in pleading with England's King Edward for aid. Now, news of these plots have prompted Macbeth to prepare for war. Now, you see, we're speeding towards the end. So now, what happens? We have news. Now, these are news that are coming in that Macduff, who did not attend Macbeth's coronation, who is a foil to Macbeth, has gone to England, and he's supporting whom? King Duncan's son. King Duncan's son has gone, Malcolm has gone to plead. Malcolm and Macduff have gone to plead, okay? Malcolm and Macduff, why have they gone to England? They have gone there to gather support, because they know that if Malcolm comes back, there are chances that Macbeth might just kill him also. There are chances that Macduff might come back, and there's no stopping Macbeth from killing these people because he does not feel safe. Now Macduff, from day one, he did not like Macbeth. He doubted him. That's why he did not attend the coronation. Now Lennox also is suspecting Macbeth, and at the same time Malcolm and Macduff have gone to England, from Scotland, right? From Scotland, they've gone to England to ask King Edward for aid. And listening to this, now Macbeth is preparing for war against them. So once he was loyal to them, once he worked alongside them, and now you see where he has come to because of his lust for power and greed. He's going against all of these people who were once his family, right? Who still are his family, but once who were on his side and once who he served, right? So Lennox and the Lord express their hope that Malcolm and Macduff will be successful and that their actions can save Scotland from Macbeth. So the truths are coming out now, and this is like more bad news for Macbeth. So Shakespeare also portrays his historical figure of King Edward the Confessor, to whom Malcolm, this is a real historical figure, to whom Malcolm and Macduff have gone to receive help combating Macbeth. Edward is presented as the complete opposite of the evil, corrupt Macbeth by including mention of England and Scotland's cooperation in the play. Shakespeare emphasizes that the bond between the two countries, renewed in this time by James's kingship, is a long-standing one. So these are historical parallels, that, by showing England and Scotland working hand in hand together, this is what Shakespeare is playing at. So we have the actual quote from the text and then the translations. I'll just read the translation, you'll understand it. My former speeches have but hit your thoughts, which can interpret further. So he said, what I said before shows the similarity of our thoughts, and we can draw a few further conclusions. I'm just saying that strange things have been happening. Macbeth pitied the gracious Duncan, though only after Duncan was dead. So, he pitied, he was on the side of Duncan, he pitied Duncan, but only after he was dead. And then he said, I guess if you like, we can say that Fleance must have killed him because Fleance ran from the crime scene. He's saying that, yeah, you can consider the fact that Fleance might have killed Banquo because he fled from the crime scene, but that doesn't prove anything. Nothing has been proved yet. So then he's saying that obviously men should not go out walking too late at night, and who can disagree that it was monstrous of Malcolm and Donalbain to kill their gracious father? A damned act. How it upset Macbeth. Why, in a righteous rage, didn't he then immediately kill those two servants while they were still drunk and sleeping? Wasn't that the noble thing for Macbeth to do? Yes, and wise too, because it would have angered anyone alive to hear that those servants deny their guilt. So it is, everybody is trying to piece the story together, is trying to put two and two together to come to the truth. Now Lennox is saying, yes, rightly, after Duncan has said, Macbeth loved Duncan so much that he killed the servants. The sleeping servants, he killed them, right? And I told you in Act 1, he did that. In Act 2, he did that. Why? Because they would say that we did not kill the king. And, Macbeth's treason would be found out. So he killed them before they could say anything. He killed them before trial only. So, the servants did not have a chance to even plead themselves innocent. They did not have a chance to even talk. So Macbeth made sure that they did not get that chance. Now Lennox is saying that he killed the two servants, otherwise who would want to hear them deny their guilt? Who would want them to hear, or who would want to hear that actually it was Macbeth only who killed Duncan? So all, suspicion is pointing towards Macbeth now. And it's not good news for him, of course. It's not a good news for him. So, of course, now he's saying that I do believe that if Macbeth had Duncan's sons in custody, which I pray won't happen, they would learn the how awful the punishment for killing a father is. Fleance would learn it too, but plainly and fail to appear when summoned by Macbeth. Now lives in out of favor with the king. Can you tell me where he's staying? So basically what Lennox is saying, that yes, if they would have surrendered, if Lennox, Malcolm and Fleance would have surrendered to the king, they would have gotten the act punishment. But they refused. Macbeth ordered for them to appear, but they refused to appear, okay? Because of course they're scared for their life also. Macbeth will obviously kill them. So what happens is they do not appear before Macbeth, and that kind of added to, fuel to the fire, that added to their strained relationship. So this is Act 3, Scene 6. This is where it stops. This is what we're talking about. So I hope that this video has been helpful for you. We've completed Act 3 also. We only have 4 and 5 to go. So this has been a detailed discussion of Macbeth so far, and we're going to continue with it. So if this video has been helpful for you, and if all my other videos have been helpful for you, then please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe to my channel for similar content. And if you are about literature, then this is the place to be. Until we meet again, I really hope that you stay healthy and happy. See you in the next one, guys.